Here's another example using one of the pictures from the folder of additional photos for today that I had you download. It's called Catamarans 2. And if we look at the image setting, Command Option I, we see that this camera records its photos at 150 pixels per inch. So it's not web, nor is it high quality print at 300. It has 2200 pixels and it's a 10 meg file. So the first thing that we'd want to do is we would want to make sure this is off because we're going to change our resolution to be higher. We're going to crank it up to 300, which pushes them closer together in print, 300 dots per inch. And because of that, our file size, our width went down to 7.5 inches. Then what we want to do is click on the resample button and notice that our width and height are still locked. If our end use for this only needed to be 5 inches wide, not 7.5, we would want to make it physically smaller and allow Photoshop the ability to throw away those pixels, which is what the resample does. It allows it to throw away or add. So now that we're going smaller in our width to 5, notice that it went down to 3.7 wide. It stayed at the high resolution, but because we physically got smaller, we went from 10 megs down to only 4. So that's one way of resizing an image. You have to be aware of when the resample is on, Photoshop has the ability to throw away or add pixels, and when it's off, it doesn't. You're just rearranging the pixels. So if I were to say, okay, here is my smaller 5-inch wide but high-res 300 dpi photo ready to go. Go back over to Bridge and go back to our Photoshop book files, textbook files, chapter 2, and you're going to see all these images again. The next one we're going to work with is the one called Grand Tetons. So double click on that to open it in Photoshop, and let's just look at the image size right now. The image size is 10 inches wide by 4.5 tall, and it's at 300, so it's ready for professional commercial print. It's all ready to go. Now, that is the image size, the photo itself. Also, another option that we have to look at under image is the canvas size, and that is literally the piece of canvas underneath it that it's being printed on. So in our canvas size, we have some options here. Our canvas is currently exactly the same size as this photo, 10 by 4.5 inches. We can make it larger and we can tell it what it's going to look like. So if we want to change our overall width to 12 inches, that's going to add an inch on each side. If we want to change our overall height to 6.5 inches, that's going to add an overall inch on the top and the bottom. Because we have this anchor dot right here in the middle, anything that we add to our canvas is going to be equally dispersed top to bottom and left to right. If we were to anchor it this way, the image, the top right part of the image would stay solid, but the additional 2 inches would be added to the right and 2 inches below. So to get it to equally spread, we need to change our anchor point here. Now the color that's going to be on the canvas behind is controlled by this dot, and right now it is the background color, which if we look at the bottom of our toolbar, our background happens to be black. Mine does. If I had it set to foreground color, my foreground color picker is red right now. Yours is probably black and white. Or you can choose white, black, gray, or other. So I'm going to just say black, which is also my background color, and I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to zoom out so that you can see that a 1-inch border was added all the way around. That is our canvas size. The image didn't change, it's still 10 by 4.5, but we now have 1 inch of canvas all around, and that will print. So this is a way that you can kind of do like matting. Let's click undo, Command Z, and do that again another way. So image, canvas size, and we knew, whoops, I must have pushed something there. We knew that we wanted to add an inch to each side, which meant we had to double it up, and we typed in the numbers here. If you don't want to do math, you can click on relative instead. and you can say, how about if you just add 2 inches total and 2 to the height, and you do it equally all around, and you say, okay, we're going to get that same result. It added 2 inches to the height, which was 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom. Now, if you want to go back and add just more canvas at the bottom, you know, when you see frame pictures, often there's more matting at the bottom. We can go Image, Canvas Size, and we can anchor it from the top and push it down so that anything that's added is added down to the bottom. And we can relatively add another inch here, for example, to the height and say okay. And because we had it anchored at the top, that extra inch was only added down here. So that's a way to relatively add it. And then also in your book, they just show us a real quick use of the type tool as well. So let's grab T for type over here in our toolbar. And horizontal type is the default. Vertical type, not horizontal. Horizontal, left to right. Wow, I'm losing my mind. Notice that you get the icon that looks like something you'd see in Word. So we can click once with our cursor right in the center here, and that's going to give us a place to start typing. And it's going to automatically add lorem ipsum type, which is just filler type, but it's going to give you a preview of what's going on. So once we use the type tool, we can look up at our option bar up here, and we can see that currently Myriad Pro regular 36 point centered and red is what I have set up. So if I wanted a different font, I would click on the drop down and I would find something else in my fonts that I have installed on my computer. I'll just go with this one. And in the next drop-down box, if there are a variety of options for it, such as bold, italic, condensed, those would show up here. This only has one style, Roman. 36 point is fine with me. And for color, I'm not going to use red, so I just clicked on this color chip and it brings up our color picker. And remember I said that you can pull these double arrows on this small side. Oh, of course, I'm getting my spinning beach ball. Pull these arrows and you're going to go into the different color families. So if you wanted a blue, like I did, stop in the blue and then come over to your color picker, and whatever that is, you can pick a tint or a shade of it by clicking inside here. So you can see it's getting darker, brighter, richer, whatever, and say okay. When this is highlighted, you can actually change your text. So you could type in Grand Tetons, and when you're done, you either have to hit enter on or return on your keyboard acts as if it does on a word processor. So it's going to take you down to the next line. So we could say in Wyoming. To accept this type, we come up to our taskbar or application bar up here, and we click on the check mark. And that accepts those changes. Now this is now a new layer. If you have your layers panel, you can see that the words are a new layer above our background, which means that they are floating around basically on a transparent sheet so that we can see everything underneath them and we can move them as needed. So the Move tool, which is our top tool up here, because we have the Grand Teton layer selected in our layers panel, that's what we're going to be moving. Oh boy. Selected font failed. Boy, every demonstration video I give, something has to go wrong, doesn't it? Oh, Photoshop just all out crashed on me, folks. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Okay, I had to restart Photoshop and reopen this file and recreate it. It's always fun for me to have problems when I'm showing you these things. Then you see how to fix it. So I'm at the point where I'm looking for a different color for the Grand Teton text, and I showed you how you can go through here and click on a color. Are you kidding me? here we go again. I'm going to try it one more time. I'm going to come up here, click on the color bar, and I showed you how you can pull through here and change the color. A quick tip and something that we'll learn later, but you want to know about it right now, is what if you're looking for a color that perfectly complements your photo? When you get to this window, if you bring your cursor out into the actual image, it turns into an eyedropper. And if you click once, you're going to sample the color right below your eyedropper, and it's going to automatically colorize whatever you have highlighted. So I know that that color blue is in my image. I know that color is. I know this weird color in the trees is in my image. So it's a kind of fun way to find the perfect color. So I'm going to go with that light blue and say OK. And I'm going to click accept up here, and that is going to give me a layer that I can now use the move tool, and I can come down here and I can move this layer around. Wow, my computer is super slow today, but there we go. I'm actually moving this layer. The lines that you see are the smart guides, and they're helping us know when we're in line with something. So right there where it lights up, there we go, that is the center point of this image, and I know that if I let go there, I have it centered. So that is adding to the canvas size, and we just played with the type tool just long enough to make me irritated, I guess. I'm going to show you now. We're going to close this out, and no need to save it. And I'm going to show you one last thing in chapter 2 on page 45, and that is about reducing the canvas size. So go back into Bridge, and let's open the picture of foxes playing, one of both foxes playing. And when we went to the canvas size and we made it bigger, we added the matting behind, obviously, but we could have made the canvas smaller, which in effect would have cropped our picture. So let's just look at that. We can do image, canvas size, and we're going to keep the relative box checked, and we're going to enter a -3 inches on our width and a -1, meaning make it smaller. And we're going to take our proxy, this dot, and we're going to move it to the top. We're going to anchor it this way, which means all of the parts that are being taken off are coming from the left, the right, and the bottom. And after we do that, we're going to say OK. And it says, hey, your new canvas is smaller than the current one, and some clipping will occur. You can say, that's fine, that's what I'm going for, and here's the resulting cropped image. Now, you were just kind of guessing how that was going to turn out, so this is not the preferred method of doing cropping. We do have a cropping tool, and that's up next on page 46, so that's what we're going to learn next.